Hey y'all, you know what time it is. Woo! Get into it! Oh, it's it's upside down. Hi y'all. How's it going? Before we start, let's talk about a couple of things. So, and this is a message directly to those who do not know me well enough to know this information. For those who know me, for those who work with me consistently, for those who have grown up with me, you know what I'm talking about with what I'm about to say. Though Christopher is highly animated and bubbly and an entertainer and very upbeat, there are moments where I would like peace and quiet, and I'm focused and I'm doing my own thing. Reason why I even bring this up is because today, like any other Friday, I opened today at the restaurant where I work at, and I just was very quiet. I was just focused. I had my, as I have on now, I have my tiger's eye on. I had worked out yesterday. I'm focused. I have things to do today, which most of them I have accomplished, one of them being this. I just was quiet. I wasn't, making a lot of conversation. And the first thing that people asked, which I genuinely understand why it was asked, because out of love and concern for my well-being, and I do appreciate for those who were checking in on me, I'm okay though. I just wanted quiet. There are those rare moments in my life where I just have a quiet day. And I just want to be chill. And I just want to relax. And I just want to be focused on the task that I'm doing. Plus, it's hard for me to be bubbly and upbeat when I have 7 or 6 tables that I'm taking care of, all at the same time. I have to be focused. I have to make sure that I'm able to check all my bases with my tables to make sure that I'm able to get their food in and out at an adequate amount of time, make sure they get their drinks, make sure they get whatever needs and specifications they want and have taken care of. And in order for me to do that efficiently is to be focused, is to be calm, is to be quiet. And yes, I'm able to do that when I'm highly up and about, but I just wanted to be quiet today. Like, the main comment I got was, is something wrong? Are you okay? Did somebody hurt you? Like, no. I just want to be quiet today. I'm okay. For those who know me well, and I was just talking about this with my friend, who is also my manager. I'm not going to put her out there, but anyway, I literally looked at her and said, honey, if I was upset or if I was sad, you would know. And she's like, you're right. I would totally know. And I was like, yeah, it's not that day. Today I just wanted to be chill. I wanted to be quiet. It's all right. Everything is good over here. We are good over here. I have my iced chai latte. I'm good to go. I say all that to say, yes, y'all, we do live in a world where depression and anxiety is real. You're looking at somebody that has been officially diagnosed years ago and has dealt with that battle for years, even prior to my diagnosis. But let my word speak for itself and take my word at its value to say that I am okay. If I'm telling you I'm okay, I'm okay. I'm going to tell you if I'm not okay. I'm going to tell you. Even if I don't want to tell you, I'm going to tell you. And I love everybody that I work with. I love the guests that I take care of. I love the people that come in specifically to see me and give me compliments. I was just telling y'all about this bag that a guest had made for me. I'm very grateful for all of that. Don't get it misconstrued. Please don't. And I always tell people, I could not do what I do without the team that I have. Without the coworkers that I have, without the management team that I have, all of the magic that I bring to my specific way of serving and taking care of people would not be possible without a good team. I'm just saying. I'm not a one man, one woman show. I work with the team. And they get all the kudos and respect because without them, I would not be able to do what I do. So, I only say that to say it's okay to have quiet days. It's okay to want to just relax and just be quiet. It's quiet time, as my mother would say. And with that being said, we're going to continue with Through the Looking Glass and what Alice found there. With a very familiar character if you're good with nursery rhymes, which I hope most young children today know classic nursery rhymes. One of which we're going to be seeing in this book. Chapter 6, Humpty Dumpty. However, the egg only got larger and larger and more human. When she had come within a few yards of it, she saw that it had eyes and a nose and a mouth, and when she had come close to it, she saw clearly that it was Humpty Dumpty himself. It can't be anybody else, she said to herself. I'm as certain of it as my name were written all over his face. It might have been written 100 times easily on that enormous face. Humpty Dumpty was sitting with his legs crossed like a Turk on the top of a high wall, such a narrow one that Alice quite wondered how he could keep his balance, and as his eyes were steadily fixed in the opposite direction, and he didn't take the least notice of her, she thought he might be a stuffed figure after all. And how exactly like an egg he is, she said aloud, standing with her head ready to catch him, for she was every moment expecting him to fall. It's very provoking, Humpty Dumpty said after a long silence, looking away from Alice as he spoke, to be called an egg. Very. I said you looked like an egg, sir, Alice gently explained, and some eggs are very pretty, you know, she added, hoping to turn her remark into a sort of compliment. Some people, said Humpty Dumpty, looking away from her as usual, have no more sense than a baby. Alice didn't know what to say to this. It wasn't at all like conversation, she thought, as he had never said anything to her. In fact, his last remark was evidently addressed to a tree, so she stood and softly repeated to herself, Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty in his place again. Which actually is one of my favorite nursery rhymes. That and Baa Black Sheep. That's a good one. Or Mary Mary Quite Country. Oh, that's a good nursery rhyme. We should have a story time on the YouTube channel where I gotta find the book I had as a kid. I remember the title, and this is showing my age. There was a specific nursery rhyme book my mom got for me and my youngest brother Kyle. I'm gonna have to find it for y'all. That last line is much too long for the poetry, she added, almost out loud, forgetting that Humpty Dumpty would hear her. Don't stand chattering to yourself like that, Humpty Dumpty said, looking at her for the first time. But tell me your name and your business. My name is Alice, but... It's a stupid name enough, Humpty Dumpty interrupted impatiently. What does it mean? Must a name mean something? Asked Alice doubtfully. Of course it must, Humpty Dumpty said with a short laugh. My name means the shape I am, and a good handsome shape it is, too. With a name like yours, you might be any shape, almost. Why do you sit out here all alone? Said Alice, not wishing to begin an argument. Why? Because there's nobody with me, cried Humpty Dumpty. Did you think I didn't know the answer to that? Ask another. Don't you think you'd be safer down on the ground? Alice went on, not with an idea of making another riddle, but simply in her good-natured anxiety for the queer creature. That wall is so very narrow. What tremendous easy riddles you ask, Humpty Dumpty growled out. Of course I don't think so. Why, if I ever did fall off, well, there's no chance of. But if I did... Here he pursed his lips, and looked so solemn and grand that Alice could hardly help laughing. If I did fall, he went on, the king has promised me, as you may turn pale if you like. You didn't think I was going to say that, did you? The king has promised me, with his very own mouth, to send all his horses and all his men, Alice interrupted rather unwisely. Now I declare that's too bad, Humpty Dumpty cried, breaking into a sudden passion. So, their kids is Humpty Dumpty. And I also forgot to mention, I don't own the music that you're listening to in the background. I do not own the music, just saying. You've been listening in indoors and behind trees and down chimneys, or you couldn't have known it. I haven't indeed, Alice said very gently. It's in a book. Ah, well, they may write such things in a book, Humpty Dumpty said in a calmer tone. That's what you call a history of England, that is. Now take a good look at me. I'm one that has spoken to a king. I am. Mayhap you'll never see another. And to show you I'm not proud, you may shake hands with me. And he grinned almost from ear to ear as he leaned forward, as nearly as possible, fell off the wall in doing so, and offered Alice his hand. She watched him a little anxiously as she took it. If he smiled much more, the ends of his mouth might meet behind, she thought. And then I don't know what would happen to his head. I'm afraid it would come off. Yes, yes, all the horses and all his men, Humpty Dumpty went on. They'd pick me up again in a minute. They would. However, this conversation is going a little too fast. Let's go back to the last remark but one. I'm afraid I can't quite remember it, Alice said very politely. In that case, we start afresh, said Humpty Dumpty, and it's my turn to choose a subject. So here's a question for you. How old did you say you were? Alice made a short calculation and said, 7 years and 6 months. Wrong! Humpty Dumpty exclaimed triumphantly. You never said a word like that! I thought you meant, how old are you? Alice explained. If I'd meant that, I'd have said it, said Humpty Dumpty. Alice didn't want to begin another argument, so she said nothing. 7 years and 6 months, Humpty Dumpty repeated thoughtfully. An uncomfortable sort of age, but if you'd asked my advice, I'd have said leave off at 7, but it's too late now. I never asked about growing, Alice said indignantly. Too proud? The other inquired. Alice felt more indignant at this suggestion. I mean, she said, that one can't help growing older. One can't, perhaps, said Humpty Dumpty, but two can. With proper assistance, you might have left off at 7. What a beautiful belt you have on, Alice suddenly remarked. They had had quite enough of the subject of age, she thought, and if they were to take turns in choosing subjects, it was her turn now. At least, she corrected herself on second thoughts, a beautiful cravat, I should have said. No, a belt, I beg your pardon, she added in dismay, for Humpty Dumpty looked thoroughly offended. And she began to wish she hadn't chosen that subject. If only I knew, she thought to herself, which was neck and which was waist. Evidently, Humpty Dumpty was very angry, though he said nothing for a minute or two. That's how he looked. When he did speak again, it was in a deep growl. It's a most provoking thing when a person doesn't know a cravat from a belt. I know it's very ignorant of me, Alice said, in so humble a tone that Humpty Dumpty relented. It's a cravat, child, and a beautiful one, as you say. It's a present from the White King and Queen. There now! Is it really? Said Alice, quite pleased to find that she had chosen a good subject after all. They gave it to me, Humpty Dumpty continued thoughtfully as he crossed one knee over the other and clasped his hands round it. They gave it to me for a birthday present. I beg your pardon, Alice said with a puzzled air. I'm not offended, said Humpty Dumpty. I mean, what is an unbirthday present? A present given when it isn't your birthday, of course. Alice considered a little. I like birthday presents best, she said last. You don't know what you're talking about, cried Humpty Dumpty. How many days are there in a year? 365, said Alice. And how many birthdays have you? 1. And if you take 1 from 365, what remains? 364, of course. Humpty Dumpty looked doubtful. I'd rather see that done on paper, he said. Alice couldn't help smiling as she took out her memorandum book and worked the sum for him. There it is, kids. Well, it's going to be backwards because this is a reflective surface, but it's 365 minus 1, which is Alice's correct calculation, which is 364. Always put your work out on the paper. I don't know about this new math that kids are learning, but when I was growing up, we had to work out the problem and show you the work. Humpty Dumpty took the book and looked at it carefully. That seems to be done right, he began. You're holding it upside down, Alice interrupted. To be sure I was, Humpty Dumpty said gaily, as she turned it round for him. I thought it looked a little queer. As I was saying, it seems to be done right.
though I haven't time to look at it over thoroughly just now, and that shows that there are 364 days when you might get odd birthday presents.
Certainly, said Alice.
And only one for birthday presents, you know. There's glory for you.
I don't know what you mean by glory. Humpty Dumpty smiled contemptuously.
Of course you don't, till I tell you. I meant that there's a nice knockdown argument for you.
But glory doesn't mean a knockdown argument, Alice objected.
When I use a word, Humpty Dumpty said in a rather scornful tone, it means just what I choose it to mean. Neither more nor less.
The question is, said Alice, whether you can make words mean so many different things.
The question is, said Humpty Dumpty, which is to be master, that's all.
Alice was too much puzzled to say anything, so after a minute, Humpty Dumpty began again.
They've a temper, some of them, particularly verbs. They're the proudest adjectives. You could do anything with them, but not verbs. However, I can manage the whole lot of them impenetrably. Wow, hold on 1 second, y'all. Impenetrability. That's what I said. I had to make sure I was going to say that right.
Always sound out the words, kids. Please do not be afraid. Please sound out your words before you say them. Helps you not look foolish in public. Would you tell me, please, said Alice, what that means?
Now you talk like a reasonable child,
said Humpty Dumpty, looking very much pleased.
I meant by impenetrability that we've had enough of that subject, and it would just as well if you'd mention what you mean to do next. As I suppose you don't mean to stop there all the rest of your life.
That's a great deal to make one word mean, Alice said in a thoughtful tone.
When I make a word do a lot of work like that, said Humpty Dumpty, I always pay it extra.
Oh, said Alice. She was too much puzzled to make any other remark. You should see him
come round me of a Saturday night, Humpty Dumpty went on, wagging his head gravely from side to side. For to get their wages, you know.
You seem very clever at explaining words, sir, said Alice. Would you kindly tell me the meaning of the poem called Jabberwocky?
Let's hear it, said Humpty Dumpty. I can explain all the poems that ever were invented and a good many that haven't been invented just yet.
This sounded very helpful, so Alice repeated the first verse. 'Twas brilling, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mumraths outgrabe.
That's enough to begin with, Humpty Dumpty interrupted. There are plenty of hard words there. Brilling means 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the time when you begin broiling things for dinner.
That'll do very well, said Alice. And slithy?
Well, slithy means lithe and slimy. Lithe is the same as active. You see, it's like a portmanteau. There are 2 meanings packed up into one word.
I see it now, Alice remarked thoughtfully. And what are toves?
Well, toves are something like badgers. There's something like lizards, and there's something like corkscrews.
They must be very curious-looking creatures.
They are that, said Humpty Dumpty. Also, they make their nests under sundials. Also, they live on cheese.
And what's to gyre and to gimble?
To gyre is to go round and round like a gyroscope. To gimble is to make holes like a giblet.
And the wabe is the grass plot around a sundial, I suppose, said Alice, surprised at her own ingenuity.
Of course it is. It's called wabe, you know, because it goes a long way before it and a long way behind it.
And a long way beyond it on each side, Alice added.
Exactly so. Well then, Mimsy is flimsy and miserable, and a Borogove is a thin, shabby-looking bird with its feathers sticking out all round, looking something like a live mop.
And then mome-rats? Said Alice. I'm afraid I'm giving you a great deal of trouble.
So, these are all the creatures that he is describing to her. Can you guess which one is which? We've got toves, we've got mome-rats, borogoves. Got a whole bunch of interesting creatures. Well, a wrath is a sort of green pig, but mome, I'm not certain about. I think it's short for from home, meaning that they lost their way, you know.
And what does outgrabe mean?
Well, outgribing is something between bellowing and whistling with a kind of sneeze in the middle. However, you'll hear it done maybe down in the wood yonder. And when you've once heard it, you'll be quite content. Who's been repeating all that hard stuff to you?
I read it in a book, said Alice, but I had some poetry repeated to me much easier than that by Tweedledee, I think it was.
As to poetry, you know, said Humpty Dumpty, stretching out one of his great hands, I can repeat poetry as well as other folk if it comes to that.
Oh, it needn't come to that, Alice hastily said, hoping to keep him from beginning. The piece
I'm going to repeat, he went on without noticing a remark, was written entirely for your amusement.
Alice felt that in that case she really ought to listen to it, so she sat down and said, "Thank you," rather sadly.
In winter, when the fields are white, I sing this song for your delight. Only, I don't sing, he added, as an explanation.
I see you don't, said Alice.
If you can see whether I'm singing or not, you've sharper eyes than most, Humpty Dumpty remarked severely.
Alice was silent.
In spring, when woods are getting green,
I'll try and tell you what I mean. Thank you very much, said Alice. In summer, when the days are long, perhaps you understand the song. In autumn, when the leaves are brown, take pen and ink and write it down. I will if I can remember it so long, said Alice.
You needn't go on making remarks like that, Humpty Dumpty said. They're not sensible and they put me out.
I sent a message to the fish and told them this is what I wish. The little fishes of the sea, they sent an answer back to me. The little fish's answer was, we cannot do it, sir, because... I'm afraid I don't quite understand, said Alice.
It gets easier further on, Humpty Dumpty replied.
I sent to them again to say, it will be better to obey. The fishes answered with a grin, why, what a temper you are in. I told them once, I told them twice, they would not listen to advice. I took a kettle large and new, fit for the deed I had to do. My heart would hop, my heart would thump. I filled the kettle at the pump. Then some came to me and said, the little fishes are in bed. I said to him, I said it plain,
then you must wake them up again.
I said it very loud and clear. I went and shouted in his ear. Humpty Dumpty raised his voice almost to a scream as he repeated this verse, and Alice thought with a shudder, I wouldn't have been the messenger for anything. Oh, it reminds me of Avery from Charlotte's Web when he accidentally stepped on the rotten egg. He's like, good night, everybody. Good night. Thanks. Let's get out of here. We'll have to read that again. I love Charlotte's Web. Actually, that'll probably be, as a birthday gift to me, is to read one of my favorite stories. Because, as I've said before, if you didn't know, I will be going out of town for my birthday. To Miami for the first time. So if anybody has any cool restaurants or any cool sites that I should definitely go see that isn't super crowded with people, please message me later. But he was very stiff and proud. He said, you needn't shout so loud. And he was very proud and stiff. He said, I'll go and wake them up if... I took a corkscrew from the shelf. I went to wake them up myself. And when I found the door was locked, I pulled and pushed and kicked and knocked. And when I found the door was shut, I tried to turn the handle, but... There was a long pause. Is that all? Alice timidly asked.
That's all, said Humpty Dumpty. Goodbye.
This was rather sudden, Alice thought, for after such a very strong hit that she ought to be going, she felt that it would hardly be civil to say. So she got up and held out her hand. Goodbye, till we meet again, she said as cheerfully as she could.
I should know you again if we did meet, Humpty Dumpty replied in a discontented tone, giving her one of his fingers to shake. You're so exactly like other people.
The face is what one goes by, generally, Alice remarked in a thoughtful tone.
That's just what I complain of, said Humpty Dumpty. Your face is the same as everybody has, the two eyes, so nose in the middle, mouth under. It's always the same. Now if you had the two eyes on the same side of the nose, for instance, or the mouth at the top, that would be some help.
It would look nice, Alice objected, but Humpty Dumpty only shut his eyes and said,
wait till you tried.
Alice waited a minute to see if he would speak again, but as he never opened his eyes or took any further notice of her, she said, goodbye. Once more, and getting no answer to this, she quietly walked away, but she couldn't help saying to herself as she went, "Of all the unsatisfactory," she repeated this out loud, as it was a great comfort to have such a long word to say, "of all the unsatisfactory people I've ever met." She never finished the sentence, for at this moment a heavy crash from the forest, from end to end. And that is where we will end for tonight. And we will be back tomorrow. We are on chapter... Whoa, did I? Oh no, okay. I thought I skipped a chapter, y'all. I scared myself. So, next time we will be on chapter 7. And we are going to meet... So, fun fact. So, anybody that knows this, and if you ever want to send pictures, I would really appreciate that. Children, there's... every country, well, if you want to be even more technical, any town, village has a symbol that represents their country. For us, in the U.S., it's the bald eagle with... he's holding arrows and a branch, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. The Mexican flag of that country has an eagle devouring a snake, if I'm not mistaken. As I said, please correct me if I am wrong. But there are two mythical creatures, rather. One of them is real, the other one is mythical, that Britain has. And if you know what those two creatures are, please comment below, because we're going to meet them in the next chapter. England has two animals that they derive their pride and triumph for. And yes, we will be meeting them next time. And for those who've been paying attention to this program, you know that you've already met them in a previous series that we just finished up. So there's that. So, happy Friday, y'all. Thank you all for hearing me out. And like I said, it's okay to be quiet. It's okay to be calm. It's okay. Enjoy yourself.